Quick check. When you open up an AI chatbot, do you already know what you think? Or are you hoping it figures that out for you? That moment matters more than whatever the answer comes next. Because that's the point where your thinking either gets exercised or quietly handed off. AI isn't dangerous because it helps. It becomes risky when it steps in before you do. When it fills in the direction before you've even chosen one, that's not efficiency, that's substitution. If we haven't met, I'm Summer, and I've been in cybersecurity since 2001. So I'm not anti-tools. I love well-designed systems. But I'm also a parent, a daughter, and someone who's had to make real decisions under tremendous pressure. And one thing experience makes very clear is this. If you let something think for you long enough, you don't just speed things up. You lose the practice of thinking it through. Eventually, people get stuck and no longer know how to start on their own. This isn't about willpower. It's about what gets practiced and what doesn't. We call this prompt dependency. And I want to be very specific about what that means. The prompt dependency is when you ask a chatbot before you think, you rely on generative AI to brainstorm, before you've come up with a single idea on your own. You generate language instead of wrestling with meaning making. It feels productive, but what really is happening is that your voice enters the process late. And that matters because your voice shapes direction. First voice sets direction. A generative AI model doesn't. It doesn't know what matters to you. It certainly doesn't know your values, your context, or which trade-offs you're actually willing to take. So when its assertion comes first, it doesn't just suggest, it steers. Your voice matters more than generative AI because it determines the direction you follow. Once direction is set, everything downstream is shaped by it. So here's what that looks like at home. Your kid says, I don't know what to write. The fast move is, okay, let's ask AI. But if that's always the move, the lesson lands quietly that your thinking is optional. So instead, we pause. I say, tell me what you think the assignment is asking. It doesn't have to be good yet, because sometimes the answer is in that messy back and forth. Sometimes the thoughts are incomplete, and that's not failure, that's thinking in progress. Unfortunately, adults do this too, and we just dress it up differently. It sounds like, hold on, let me ask my guy. Let me check with Chatty real quick. What does Professor Chatbot think? We give it a nickname. We talk to it like a colleague. And sometimes, like a confidant, we do the same patterns. So when a chatbot becomes the starting point, your judgment quietly moves out of the frame. So here's the pause check for in this episode. If a prompt forms in your head before your actual point of view does, pause. Ask yourself, have I actually thought about this yet? That interruption alone protects agency. So here's the fix. It's actually simple, not clever, and it works. I call it the think first rule. And so in this think first rule, before AI gets involved, write one sentence of what you think. List 2 or 3 options about what you see. Name what you don't know yet. And that's it. For kids, they should draft first, AI second. For adults, frame the decision. Then ask, should AI be a second voice, not your inner monologue? Now we reinforce this habit inside the tool itself. So open up your AI chatbot, go to settings, custom instructions. Paste this in the system. This system supports thinking. It does not replace it. Do not respond immediately with solutions or conclusions. Begin by asking open-ended, non-leading questions that help me develop my own ideas. Ask what I have already considered and why. And if no attempt has been made, prompt one before continuing. Use questions to clarify reasoning, not to steer outcomes, but to prioritize learning, judgment, and understanding. Do that over speed. This forces the system to wait, and waiting protects your critical thinking. Here's what this sounds like in real life. Show me what you're thinking first. It doesn't need to be finished. To another adult, say, let's each name our thinking before we ask the tool. You're not being controlling. You're modeling how thinking works. I want to leave you with a challenge. In the comments, answer this. Without using AI, what's one question or decision you recently handed off to a chatbot before forming your own view? If your first instinct is to open a tool, that's useful information. They'll write it anyway. I read and respond to all of the comments. Prompt dependency is subtle. You don't notice it until starting feels harder than it used to. If this was useful, subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss the next episode. Next, we're talking about AI at work, the quiet pressure to use these tools, and the red, yellow, and green protocol that helps protect your judgment and your career. Stay fortified.